if you start training and telling us your body, I can do it, then the body will adapt and it will do it due to the male competitive spirit. You want to keep up with them. Yeah, I shouldn't be doing that. If you have a muscle ache post workout, that just means you had a good workout. Foam rollers, basically, it's like Marmite. Either you hate it or you love it. They're quite standardized. You just go in and roll. I don't think you can't get that wrong. When someone asks me what is ultrasound doing, I normally say, you know how a magnet attracts metal? This basically attracts blood. Yeah, you might feel a bit small and everyone's big, but you got to remember, those big people are also small at one stage. They're at the same stage as you.
Welcome to the Visionary podcast, where we discuss science, medicine, physical health, and mental well-being. Let's talk about injuries. Why do some injuries seem to linger? I hurt my left shoulder, a tiny thing in tennis maybe 2 years ago, and it still twinges a little bit while I'm doing Pilates. What do you think happening here?
There's a few things that could be happening there. So normally when you hit above the ages of 25, 26 and you get an injury, depending on how bad the injury is, you get a formation of scar tissue most of the time. Sometimes scar tissue needs to be broken down. And if it isn't, then it can cause a re-inflammation to the area, or it could cause like a tingling or a numbness or something, some sort of sensation which causes you a bit of discomfort to the area.
How would a scar tissue be broken down?
So you can do it manually. So if you go to a physiotherapist and they give quite a vigorous massage to that specific point, that's how scar tissue is normally broken down. You can use other modalities like acupuncture and ultrasound and things like this. This can break it down.
How would I know that this is the thing that I have?
So if you go to a practitioner, they should be able to feel it. So it will feel like hardened up tissue across the area. So it could be that. And another reason could be compensation. So when you had the injury, depending on how long you had it for and the state of the injury, other tissues might start compensating. So when you do a certain movement, let's say in your shoulder, the other area which was compensated has to now work harder, which pulls on the affected area still. So there's various reasons why you could still have some sort of injury. It just needs to be diagnosed a bit better, or probably treated a bit better as well.
Yes. Can muscle aches be a good thing?
Well, it depends on what your body's telling you from the muscle aches. So if you have a muscle ache post-workout, that just means you had a good workout. It means you trained well done to you. If you have a muscle ache during the workout, during that set, a rep or set, it could tell you that there's probably a pathology going on here. If you have a muscle ache, which is just an achy, throbby sensation, post-treatment, that could be a good thing, because that just means that you've worked into the muscle a bit, and it's just letting you know that it's been worked into.
Is there such a thing as injury prone, or do you get some people who are maybe sensitive to exercise or certain kind of sports? I'm notorious for getting injured.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you do the
Definitely.
same.
Yeah, definitely. I would say this comes onto a psychosomatic issue now. So most people who are, I wouldn't call them injury prone, but who maybe you want to classify them as in the injury prone category, those are the ones who probably work out 7 days a week or 6 days a week, and they do very high intensity workouts. And they have told themselves that every single day I have to lift this much. If I don't lift this much, it's because there's a problem going on.
What is the biggest mistake people make when they come back to exercise after an injury?
I think they didn't pace themselves back into whatever activity they were doing, and they just went back from, let's say, again, I use bench press as an example because it's an easy example. Let's say they were doing 100 kg bench press, they got injured. Then obviously when you go back to doing bench press, you kind of need to get yourself back into it. You can't just lift 100 kg again. Some people, they just try to lift 100 kg then because the pain is gone, but they don't realize that they have to build the muscle back up. That's what gets them re-problem again. I always tell patients that, look, let's get you back into the gym now, but let's start you 70% less of what your peak was. So let's say you're doing 100 kg. My maths is not great, but let's say 70% is 30 kg, whatever, 30 kg. I would say start at 30 kg, lift that, and then every week we can increase it by about 5 to 10%. So that kind of tells them that, okay, if you do anything more and you get injured, it's because you didn't listen. Does that make sense? So it's just about planning again.
Is it normal to feel sore days after working out?
Depends how hard you worked out. But yeah, you can do. If I had a very intense, I've had sessions with my friends and I've been hurting for 3 days.
No.
Yeah, but
Did you
the
do something out of the
nah, they just,
ordinary?
unfortunately, some of my friends like to go to the gym and push it a lot, and then due to the male competitive spirit, you want to keep up with them. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I shouldn't be doing that. So you just do whatever you can do, and then your body's hurting for the next 2-3 days. I played a football tournament last year, and I usually don't play football. I do play football, but a tournament, which obviously means 10 games, 10 minute 10 minute games or something like that, and it's obviously all of them at a high intensity because you need to win that game because it's a tournament. Yeah, so obviously your muscles work a lot harder, and my legs were hurting after 3 days after that as well. So it is normal, it just depends on how much workout you do.
is there such a thing as everyday recovery? Like after a long day of sitting, going back, hot bath, putting my legs up the wall, these kind of things. Something that's not exercise,
Yeah,
a habit that
I
I
would
can
say
do.
anything you can do to relax your tissues is good. Relaxing your tissues could be a mental aspect as well. If relaxing your tissues is from reading a book, yeah, you can do that. Anything that relaxes, it could just be watching Netflix and having a chill out time. That relaxes your tissues as well. Doesn't mean you have to do a specific exercise. Doesn't mean you have to just go do stretches when you're at home. Hot bath is great as well. It gets the blood circulation going to the area. You feel nice, chilled, relaxed. Anytime you feel relaxed, you need to know that your muscles are also relaxed. So
Yes.
whatever you're doing, it's fine. So reading a book, just watching TV, all of that's fine.
Yeah. No, I was advised to use foam rollers, so I got one, and I absolutely hated the thing. It felt like a medieval torture kind of thing. Is there a right way and a wrong way of using them?
No, they're quite standardized. You just go in and roll. I don't think you can't get that wrong. But
How would I benefit from such a painful experience?
so foam rollers basically, it's like Marmite. Either you hate it or you love it. Yeah, I don't use foam rollers because I hate it. If you hate it and you start getting pain from it, you're gonna really hate it and you won't use it. So if you're telling me right now that I don't like it because it's getting me pain, is there a right or wrong way? It just means you don't like it, and I would say just don't use it. Just do normal static stretches. Foam rollers are there for, obviously you can, foam rollers come with, sometimes they come with small little nodules on the foam roller, so you can dig into the area a little bit more, so you can force it into the tissue and stretch the tissue, the tissue structure a lot more. But obviously that comes with a bit of discomfort, so just stick to static
It's a
stretches.
matter of preference because I can sustain pain or exercise aches in other area, but I couldn't do
But it's a
that.
different sensation of pain because you're forcing discomfort. When you get an ache from exercise, it's more normally a throbbing ache or a lactic acid ache, or
So a different kind of
yeah,
ache.
it's a different type of sensation. That type of sensation you're forcing on yourself.
It jabs into the
Yeah, yeah,
muscles.
but that's more of a sharp pain sensation. After exercise, if it's not an injury, obviously it's more of a thumping type of ache sensation. So they mean different things.
Yeah. In my younger days, I never had to worry about recovery. I didn't know what the recovery meant. Like, I just go to the gym every day and I was happy with it. Now, why does recovery seem slower as we get older?
Your oxygen around the body gets a lot less. Your tissues, they can't take as much load. The soft tissues don't work as properly. Your joints, that affects the flexibility in your joints. It's just what happens at a maturing stage. The recovery, your body focuses on trying to fix other areas and doesn't really think about soft tissue injuries as much, because they're thinking, I need to pump the heart. That's more important than a little ATFL sprain that you have in the ankle, things like that. So it just because it's on a decline, it's trying to do what's best for your body at that time. And sometimes injuries, the body tells yourself you're still functional, so we'll focus on something else.
Hi, I'm Hella, your host today. If you're enjoying what you see, please hit that lovely subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me and my team. Or maybe it's more now. We're still learning, we're still finding our feet, but with your support, we can build this channel. Let's take this journey together, one step at a time. Thank you so much for being part of it. I've come across that harsh idea that if we try too much too soon to speed recovery, this might backfire and bring us to square one again in the recovery process. Is that true?
So you've had a long workout, your body's basically telling you, all right, it's enough now. So you do a cool down, but your cool down is a bit more is a bit more extensive to what it's supposed to be. That means you could obviously force your body to go in fatigue mode, which you can then potentially cause an injury again. So you're just doing more than what your body is telling you to do. So it's counteracting, to be honest. So yes, you can.
So I take it now from what you've just said that any feeling of fatigue after a workout is a bad thing.
No, fatigue is a good thing because it tells your body that you've done something. It's not a bad thing. But if you keep working while you're in fatigue, that's probably a bad thing, because fatigue is basically telling you that your muscles are recovering from what you've just done. So if it's recovering, it can't probably give you the most amount of force that you need to generate when doing a functional activity or whatever activity you're doing. So if you try to, again, I'll use 100 kg bench press as an example. Yeah. If you did 100 kg bench press and you're fatiguing the next 2 days, I wouldn't advise to go try 100 kg bench press because you physically won't have the power to do it. So if you're forcing it to, then that's how you get an injury as well.
Okay.
So fatigue is not a bad thing, but working into it is probably a bad thing.
Yeah. Minhal, you work with professional athletes. Do they have some unique recovery techniques that we mortals could pinch and apply?
No, they just have more availability of it. So
What does that mean?
So a professional athlete can have an ice bath, but me and you can also have access to an ice bath. Yeah. A professional athlete could have massage after an injury, but so do me and you have access to it. We just need to pay for it. It's just not there on a daily basis because it's their professional. So they don't have any different things. They just have more access to most things. The only difference is they might have more specialist things towards their body. So they have a dietitian that's been with them since, from since they started their contract at the club, and their dietitian will look at their diet year on, so they will always adapt their diet to give them peak performance. Me and you can have access to that, but it's more difficult to have access to that and probably a bit more financially burdened to have access to that. So
we talked about this offline. I shared with you that I have osteoarthritis in my left foot, and I know that osteoarthritis is a wear and tear thing. Now, knowing that I have one set of skeleton only for life, is there a chance I would be doing something in my workout, which is light, not dramatic or anything, or on a daily basis that could potentially erode my skeleton or wear it down?
So let's say you have osteoarthritis. Let's say we'll use the knee as an example because knee is the most okay. Let's say you got it in your knee. If you're doing activities and it's not causing you any pain and you're able to do those activities, it's not eroding anything away. Now you got to remember, arthritis is a degenerative problem, so it's always going to be eroding away. What you're asking is, if I do a specific activity, is it going to erode it a lot quicker? The only time you know that, okay, it's maybe eroding a lot quicker than it should be is if you put yourself in pain. If you put yourself in pain in some sort of exercise, functional activity, whatever you're doing, you're causing an inflammatory response to the area. That doesn't suit well with the degenerative changes, and that's the only thing that could potentially be eroding away a bit quicker than what it's supposed to be doing.
Here's a very silly question talking to a physiotherapist, but it's something that I've wondered about for years. I never had the chance to ask, what is the difference? If I had an injury, what is the difference between recovery and rehabilitation?
They cross over, recovery and rehabilitation. Recovery, I would say, is more the early stages because you're trying to recover from the acute stage so you can actually get back to your functional day-to-day tasks. Rehabilitation is more, I've recovered, now I'm trying to get back to what my recreational activities were. However, why I say they cross over is rehabilitation is not just for athletes, it's for everyone. So that person who's having an injury, they might not perform any activity, any sports, but they just want to get back to their day-to-day lives. So there is a rehab perspective to that as well. So for example, they may say, okay, I'm a mother and I need to just make sure I get the household chores done. I don't play any sports and I need to take my kids to school. So obviously we'll apply exercise to those specific movements so to help them get back into their normal day-to-day activities. That's still rehab. When people normally speak to you, they always say, I'm recovering from a cold. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah. Or I'm recovering from this car accident that I had. Yeah. So they're just trying to get themselves back onto their normal day-to-day life.
But rehabilitation is hitting the optimal in a way.
On that specific person. So
That
rehab
specific
starts from
person.
day one, by the way. It doesn't start halfway down, it starts from day one. Yeah. But the most optimal part of rehab is normally when you are functional.
Functional and going back. Can rehab help me be stronger than my older
Of course you
self?
can. Yeah. You just need to tailor up their programming. And so, for example, let's say you have an injury and let's say you play tennis. Yeah. Let's say you play tennis. You got tennis elbow. Yeah. Um, you start to help with the tennis elbow. You fix the tennis elbow problem. Then obviously you give them exercises to help them prevent that happening again. And that would mean you'd have to make that arm stronger. So you can make it stronger. Yeah. You just have to tailor up the program to what they need.
Is mindset part of the solution as well, part of the rehab process?
Definitely, because mindset plays a big game in everything. You know, if people are concerned about so there's some people there's some obviously patients that say, I'm scared to do it because I don't want to get into this pain again, or I don't think I can do this movement again. It's harder to rehab them because they're afraid to do certain movements. But obviously, you might have a person's mindset who's the opposite. Say, look, I'm ready to go. That means they'll be able to rehab them a bit quicker. They might get themselves an injury more likelier because they're pushing themselves. But mindset plays positive and negative role, but it plays a role in everything.
While researching this episode, I've read some stories online, and some people feel like they are going sometimes backwards in their rehab journey. Talk to me about the body's amazing capacity to heal itself.
The body can do many things. You know, it can change, it can adapt, it can stay the same, it can do whatever you want it to do. I think mindset has a part to play in that. You know, if you wake up one day and say, okay, I'm a tennis player today, but tomorrow I want to be a gymnastics person, doesn't mean you'll be a pro gymnastics person. But if you start training and telling us your body, I can do it, then the body will adapt and it will do it.
I think that's an amazing
Yeah.
positive message. Yeah. And on the subject of motivation, we tell ourselves that it's lack of time that we don't work out, but it's actually a lack of motivation. I have a theory about listening to my body. I fail at it most of the time, but of course, if I feel pain, I know I have to stop. But sometimes when I'm under the duvet on a Saturday morning and my body's telling me, stay there in the warmth and do not walk to the gym to work out in the freezing cold, surely I shouldn't be listening, right?
I've done that as well, to be honest. So I think that's everyone. I just think, you know, there's a comfort aspect to that. You just feel comfortable.
How you
don't,
stated, you wanna stay there.
and you don't want to get out. You know, I'm sure everyone does that. I do that all the time. Again, I think it's, as I said, it's a mindset thing. How committed are you to achieving your goal of whatever you're trying to achieve? You know, if you want to make sure you lose weight or get stronger, and you know that you have to go to the gym 3-4 times a week or 5 times a week to do it, then how committed are you to do it? If you turn around and say, oh, it's cold outside, I'm going to stay in the bed, then you're obviously not as committed.
Yeah, I've noticed that if one joint acts up in me, everything else joins in, like a group chat kind of thing. Is everything in the body connected?
In some way, shape, or form, yes, because obviously you have nerves that run everywhere. I would say yes, everything is connected. Some might not be connected as much as other things, but they all connected in some way, shape, or form, yes.
When I'm looking at bone health, for example, because I read that if I have weak muscles, I will have weak bones. How is that relationship unfold?
If you have, so basically the best way to increase your to have the best way to build strength within your bones is to weight bear them, to have some sort of weight bearing exercises on them, because obviously you're putting weight through them, so that's how they get stronger. So if your muscles aren't to do a weight bearing exercise, you have to have muscles, so then you can perform that exercise. Yeah. So if your muscles are weak, injured, you won't be able to perform those weight bearing exercises, and that's what has a negative effect. That's how the negative effect can happen to the bones.
A lot of people live with everyday aches, a stiff neck, a tiny ache or soreness somewhere, and they live with it. I rock an Achilles tendon, a weak Achilles tendon. When should we decide that we have to see a physio?
I think when it stops you from doing your functional day-to-day tasks, because that means there's an actual problem going on there. If you got an ache and you still got full range of motion, then you know you could probably go on YouTube and just find some stretches to start doing. There's no point you going to physio wasting your money not wasting, but giving them money for where you could probably get it online. But if it stops your functional day-to-day task, then there's a true inflammatory problem going on there.
I was trying to educate myself about what you do. So I've seen a few YouTube videos. What does it mean or feel when there is a pop, when someone feels a pop in physiotherapy while doing stretches or bends?
Oh, like a manipulation pop?
I don't know what it's called. There's something
Well, there's a good
patient
pop and a
here.
bad pop.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So if you
What's
feel,
a good pop and
if you feel like a good pop, let's say like a crack, that's just you manipulating a joint.
crack?
Yeah, and there's the noise comes from the gas exchanges in the area. That's not a bad thing. That just means you're stretching out the joints and the tissues for as far as they can go in a quick snap. That's not a bad thing. People have different views about manipulations. I think if they're done in moderation, it's fine. If you keep doing them every single day, then it can turn into probably something that's not great. But we do them as well.
What purpose does it serve?
So, all right, fine. So I'll give you an example. So let's say you have a joint, yeah, joint, and you have a muscle which is tight. So it attaches from here to here, and it's tight. Let's say you really need to release it. So you do that manipulation. So you do the crack. So it really stretches out the tissue, which can help with pain and inflammation and things like that. But the body's not supposed to be in that way. So slowly over time, it will go back. We normally use it in acute stages if someone's in really big pain or someone's really stiff and they need to move around. That's when we usually use it. So, when people go to chiropractors and osteopaths, and a lot of them say all they do is manipulations. To be fair, there's nothing wrong with manipulations, or we do them as well. The bad pop is basically, let's say you have an ACL injury and you're playing football and you hear the popping sound in your knee. That normally means your ACL is gone. So that's a bad pop.
All right, it's good to know. Now, I'm trying to understand the scope of physio and how it could help people. I'm thinking of people with long-term conditions like arthritis. Can physio help in this case?
Physio can help, but I would think is more self-managing. So physio can help if you have an arthritic condition and it's become acute for whatever reason. So physio would help with helping the acute stage and the management stage of getting it back into your functional tasks and educating on how to prevent it from becoming acute again. But because arthritis isn't a long-term issue, you don't really want to be going to see physio every single week for it because it will be quite financially costing for you. Yeah. So I think a good physio should educate the patient on how to self-manage it themselves. They should probably really see a physio if it's got really bad. That's what I would always recommend.
Would you say in general, is physio a tool for managing condition or treating them?
Both. Treating a condition, obviously, if you have an acute problem, you're treating the condition. Subacute or chronic, you're treating the conditioning. Managing the condition, yes, it is, because we have patients who come to us once every 2 months because they feel like their back is about to flare up and they don't want to self-manage it. They'd rather go to physio to manage it for them. So I would say it's both.
Manual therapy, it's quite hands-on, literally. Is this old school now?
I think manual therapy is good. I think you should use it for if someone has a stiff joint, if you're trying to help with pain, if you're trying to improve the range of motion, I think you should always use it. Manual therapy is also good for the patient as well because you're actually putting your hands on them and you're trying to physically, pain-free wise, force a movement. So at least the patient knows you're doing something. I think it is quite old school, to be honest.
How about the results that you get with manual therapy? Does it fix the root problem or maybe provide short-term relief?
So for example, I have a person at the moment who has had a ACL rupture post-op, and they can only bend their knee to about 90 degrees. However, they should be able to do full range by now. So you use mobilization every single joint to try to increase it by 10 degrees of flexion every single time. After a while, if you keep doing it, you will start seeing the long-term effects of it going back to normal full range. So I think if you do a manipulation, that's more short-term. If you do joint mobilization, that's more long-term.
Is there anything that we, everyday person, could learn from the pros when it comes to managing injuries?
You got to remember, they have a whole team to make sure they don't get injured. So they might not know anything. They're just being told that you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. So like I said previously, that we all have the capabilities of doing things. They just have it more available. So if we just stayed healthy, stayed functional, maintain our soft tissue structures. I think that's the same thing they could do as well.
Electrotherapy. Okay, this sounds a little sci-fi. I'm assuming that it involves some kind of electric waves, right? Please explain this to me.
So electrotherapy is an umbrella term for different modalities. So under electrotherapy is interferential, ultrasound, and normally laser therapy. So they're all different modalities. They try to do the same. They try to do the same things, but they're different. They're different. So electrotherapy is an umbrella term. So breaking it down, ultrasound. I normally ultrasound is like sound waves.
Talk to us in a real life session.
Yeah, it's
how
fine.
you
Yeah.
do-
So when someone asks me what is ultrasound doing, I normally say, you know how a magnet attracts metal? This basically attracts blood. So we put the ultrasound on the area to help to promote blood flow to the specific area to help the inflammatory process.
Circulation.
Yeah. Interferential. If someone asks me what's this doing,
Is there a machine for that thing?
yeah. So it's two sponge pads with a electrical electrical current going through the pads. You place it on the person's body, and I normally say that it sends electrical waves to the tissue to excite the body's certain hormones, which help with pain, blood flow, stretching out tissue, muscle activity, depending what setting you put it on.
So it provokes something, a certain reaction.
Yeah, it provokes a
hormonal
certain
reaction.
hormonal reaction. Yeah, and it helps loosen up the tissue, get blood flow to it, depending on what settings you're putting on, and it's done by the electrical impulses that's going through the area.
So who is electrotherapy for? Can it help someone like mom with chronic back pain?
Electrotherapy is for everyone, unless obviously you fall under the contraindications there where you're not supposed to use it. But generally, it's very contraindications like if someone wears a pacemaker, if they have any certain medical health conditions. There's quite a few lists of them, but generally it's for everyone.
How about those dealing with long-term issues? Again, we'll go back to something like arthritis. Could it help with that?
Help with the pain side, yes. Not help with slowing down the process or rejuvenating new cartilage, nothing to that. Just help with the pain process.
I want to understand the mechanism of this, putting a machine on my skin to relieve pain. What happens in my body to activate this? Obviously, it's connected to my nervous system and my brain. What is the mechanism?
So the electrotherapy goes onto your skin, you turn up, you get electrical impulses going to the area. It sends signals to your brain, which releases certain hormones in the body. Those certain hormones are then go back to the area where the impulse is there to help generate a healing process.
Okay. Does it hurt in any way? How does it feel like?
Like pins and needles or little ants are running around. Yeah. Some people like it, some people don't like it. Most people do like it. Okay. I think it's pretty good. Okay. But also the fact that the reason why it's good as well is because people actually feel something's going on.
Okay.
You know.
Does this include the TENS machine? I'd used that in childbirth and it was super, super effective.
Yeah. So TENS machine and an interferential machine are similar. The only difference is basically TENS machine you can buy from the shelf and you don't have to be medically trained to operate it. Interferential you have to be medically trained because the width and the height depth of the actual waves are a lot larger in the interferential. So that means it's more powerful, and if you have a specific person, it could cause an issue. So that's why you have to be medically trained to it. A TENS machine will only go up to a certain amount.
Okay, yeah. I loved it. Yeah, it was very helpful. Shockwave therapy. This is also something that you do. Shock. It's intense. Okay, how would you describe it?
So shockwave therapy. So it's high intensive sound waves that go through a probe, and then the sound waves hit a tendon. Now, shockwave is for tendon problems. It's for chronic tendon issues. Yeah. Okay. Now, what I normally describe it when patients ask me, I normally say this. If you have a chronic tendon issue, you have to get the chronic stage back to the acute stage, so you can start treating it from the normal body's base of normal healing. It's very hard to treat and resolve something when it's at a chronic stage. If you get it back to an acute stage, it's quite easy to resolve. So the shockwave attempts to get the chronic problem back to an acute problem. Mm. So when patients ask me, what does this do? I normally say to them, imagine you have two brick walls. Yeah. And if I punch one of the brick walls, it will go down, but very slowly. Yeah. I might hurt my hand in the process. This is like me doing normal physiotherapy routines. If I use the shockwave, it's like a power drill. I break the wall down completely, and then I can rebuild the wall back up the way I wanted to do. So that means I'm basically breaking down all the scar tissue quickly and then rebuilding it back from an acute stage. That's how I normally describe it.
Yeah, and you do it with a machine, obviously.
You do it with a machine. It's not that comfortable, to be honest. It's only on for about 2-3 minutes, depending on the condition, and it depends how many hits you put on the machine as well, because it is a metal probe hitting you. So depending on how much the person can tolerate and depending on the pathology.
Would you pair shockwave therapy with other techniques?
I would, but it depends. Some people can't tolerate anything afterwards because it can be quite discomfort. And shockwave doesn't last too long. It lasts literally for like 2-3 minutes max.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's called a shock.
Yeah.
Acupuncture has been around for ages, but there are lots and lots of misconceptions and myths around it. We want to bust some of these myths. Let's start with the basics, please. What is acupuncture in plain, simple terms?
There's two types of theories, by the way. There's a Chinese theory and an American theory. The Chinese,
which one is the modern and which one is the old?
The old is Chinese. The most modern is American. Chinese theory is more about energy flow. So let's say you are trying to quit smoking, or you have a problem with your kidney, or you're trying to get pregnant or something like that.
Why would that be an energy flow thing? I'm trying to understand.
So when you put the needles, they say you put the needles in a specific place, and that disrupts the bad energy and gets good energy going to the area so you can achieve what it's supposed to achieve. That's the Chinese method. The American method is, because you're putting a needle in someone, you're causing a bit of micro trauma to the area. That means blood flow will go to the area and start to heal it back up the way it's supposed to go through the normal healing process. Most MSK physios would probably use the American theory.
Okay, so does that mean that the Chinese theory, you would put the needle in places where, like in different places the pained ones?
Yeah, so for example, let's say, I don't know, you have a kidney
reduce
problem.
Stress or smoking.
Stress, yeah. Okay. You might end up putting one in your ankle. You might not even put one anywhere near your head. Or
in a different place.
You might put it somewhere completely different. You might use a lot of needles. You might not use a lot of needles. In the American theory, you basically just stick it where it hurts.
Where it hurts and cause a tiny damage would evoke the body to try to protect itself or to heal, so it rushes to the place.
Process. Yeah.
All right, super. So you brought to us these tiny needles.
These are facial ones, by the way.
Facial ones.
Yeah, these are facial ones.
Okay, I'm not sure whether the focus would get them. Well, I'm not sure. They're super tiny.
You can open them up.
Okay, they're so tiny and slippery. How cute. Okay. Oh, so the needle itself is actually way thinner than I thought. Because I'm someone who hates needles, and they are also bendy.
Yeah,
that's cool.
On that pack at the back, it actually says the depth and the thickness of the needle, and the height, the length of it as well.
Can acupuncture be for the sporty, bendy type for recovery? Can it be used for recovery?
Yeah, of course it can. Yeah, because it promotes blood flow. Okay. So promoting blood flow to the area is always a good thing. So yeah, it can.
How about the other end of the spectrum, when someone's stiff and achy?
Yeah,
can this also be helpful?
That because you're releasing the tissue when you put the needle in. So yeah, you can.
Okay. How many sessions does that? I know it varies, obviously, but roughly.
Well, it depends on the person. Depends how they react towards it. When someone comes to the clinic, we try to get them out between 6 to 8 sessions. That's normally our line. So I'd say 6 to 8 sessions, to be honest.
I'm curious about this. What is the atmosphere like when you do an acupuncture session? Is it like a spa kind of thing or a clinic appointment?
So
do you guys try to make it fun?
Do you know what? It's a good question, actually. I always tell everyone to put music on in the clinics, yeah? Whether it's, and you have to base on the person's personality as well. So you could have, if you have an older person, a more mature person, you don't want to be putting on hip hop or things like that. You just want to put some calm music on. So I normally tell everyone, put the music on based on the person's personality. So when you put the acupuncture or whatever, it's a kind of a bit of both. It's a bit of a fun setting, but relaxing setting. Most patients always turn around and says, I could fall asleep here. But that's a good sign.
Because it looks very
Yeah,
dreamy.
yeah, it's a good sign. They always ask, does it hurt? I always tell them the truth. I say, look, it shouldn't hurt. If you put it in a place where there's not a lot of tissue, you might feel a small pinch, but otherwise, no. So if they're putting in the upper fibers or traps, I would say it's not going to hurt here. And normally that is normally the case. Acupuncture, to be honest, shouldn't hurt. It's
And
a very,
if it does,
if it does, it does, because some people just might find it painful, but 90% of the time it shouldn't really hurt.
some people are skeptical about the functional benefits of acupuncture. And I get it because it looks so gentle and subtle, almost meditative. And it's hard to imagine that's actually to do anything. What would you say to people who might think that this is just a placebo?
I normally say to them, look, we use acupuncture in a lot of patients. The studies have been good for it. If you use it in combination with all the other modalities that we use, you have good results. But I always say it's up to you. We can try one session, see how it feels. If you come around next and say, I'm not really interested, then we just say no. If someone has a thought process about something, it is quite difficult to change that thought process. The only way you can do it is by providing the service to them. And then let them change it by themselves. That's the only way. You could tell them all the evidence base in the world, but if that's stuck in their head, it's stuck in their head.
Yes. So do I need to believe in acupuncture to see its benefit, or is just...
I just think you need to be open-minded.
Okay.
That's it. You don't need to believe in it. I think if you're just open-minded, said, yeah, I'll give it a go, then try it.
What are the signs that I might need strength and conditioning? Would I be suffering from something?
Muscular endurance. So your muscular endurance is low, so you fatigue a lot quicker. Your cardiovascular endurance, you're cardiovascularly tired a lot. Your strength, your strength is decreasing. You can't pick up certain objects. If you just feel weak, sometimes you might feel a bit lazy. I think that's all part of strength and conditioning, to be honest.
Is there a difference between getting stronger and getting fitter?
Normally, people say fitter is more to do with cardiovascular, and then stronger is more to do with muscular endurance.
Now, we walk into a gym, especially mature people, and we see the muscles, the dumbbells, the mirrors, and it's so intimidating. How would you help someone overcome the feeling of being inadequate in a gym?
I'm quite blunt with this, to be honest.
Yeah, go ahead. I can take it.
I'll just say get on with it. Like,
yeah,
they're doing.
No one is looking at anything, right?
But at the end of the day, look, they're doing their own thing. They're not looking at you. Yeah, they're looking at their own workouts. So when I go to the gym, I don't look at who's around. I'm just doing my workout. So they don't. You just need to go there and do your thing. To be honest, you might feel a bit small and everyone's big, but you got to remember those big people are also small at one stage. They're at the same stage as you.
We touched briefly on weightlifting. Again, I'm 47, and I was told over and over again that I need to build muscle mass. I actually have a calendar entry to remind me every single week to lift weight. It has been on for months and months now, and I never do it. How do I start building muscle mass? What to begin? The first small steps.
I think if you start using the machines first is good. Okay, when you go to the gym.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily the free weights.
Okay.
The machines is always a good thing to use because you start building up muscle and it's more controlled. There's normally one plane movement with it. It's very low risk of injury as well. You get used to the machines. You get used to how the gym works. You get used to, how to lift weight a bit. You get used to what the feeling will be like. You get used to, your muscles start to get, understand what it takes to actually build muscle. Once you start getting used to that and you're very confident with that, then I would start implementing free weights. Now, with free weights, you got to remember you are holding the weight, and it's not a machine that's helping you do it. It's your own body that's helping you do it. So you have to have a bit of control and a bit of balance to it as well.
Exercise therapy. It sounds like something we all need. What makes it therapy and not just exercise?
All the types of exercise is therapy because it's a feel-good factor. It's confidence boosting. It's helping your mental capabilities. It's having confidence within yourself. So all of these are therapy related. Even if you are just reading or doing word puzzles or things, or jigsaws, that's all therapy as well. That's all therapy for your mind. That's also exercising your brain. So everything exercise is therapy related.
Weight management. We talk about the ideal weight in relation to aesthetics, but in relation to bones and muscles and the skeletal system, What weight should I aim for to ensure that I have the strongest bones and muscles till mature age? Are we still at BMI?
That's a tough question because everyone's different to what there's no specific answer to that. People still use the BMI. The only thing is the BMI sometimes is not accurate because obviously if you're a certain age, I mean, you're a certain height, it might turn around and say you're obese, but you're not. It's just how you are. So it's very difficult to answer that. I think whatever makes you feel good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I still have a straight back in my 90s in defiance of gravity?
Yeah, you can. We've had patients who have been very mobile at the age of 90 who will still play tennis and activities. So yes, you can. I would normally think those type of patients who have a straight back or are normally people who started exercise at a very young age and maintained what they were doing, and hadn't really stopped physical activity. So I think
Yes.
if you stop physical activity, you're more likely to decline a lot quicker.
Is it inevitable that I get bent back when I grow old? Or can I do a specific
It's not
sports to...
inevitable, but there's no specific sports. But I think if you keep because you got to remember, sometimes you protract forward because the muscles around the upper the upper portion of the neck and the shoulders start to decline, so it can't really hold your back up. You can't really hold your back up. So if you strengthen up those exercises, those areas for as much as you can, is you're more likely to be able to hold yourself upright.
Yeah. I remember when I was married, my mother-in-law decided to downsize, and she moved from her house with a stairs and a garden, and she used to garden, to a flat,
Sure.
right? There were no stairs. And apparently this is what they do here in the UK. She wasn't injured. She wasn't immobile. She was able to go up the stairs, but she was just, it was tiring for her. It wasn't comfortable, and was the only one against that. And I thought, apart from the lovely memories she had in her house, she will miss the stairs. She needs the stairs. She needs the small gardening things but no one listened to me, obviously.
I think that's more to just do with ease.
Yes,
Not going up and down.
convenience.
Yeah, convenience. Not going up and downstairs, having to go upstairs to clean. Everything's on one floor. I think that's just more convenience. And bungalows aren't exactly cheap in the UK anymore. Yeah. So
What determines the health of my skeleton? Broadly speaking, we have the lifestyle and we have the genetics. Now, we usually blame our parents for a lot of things, but how much does each one contribute to how strong I am?
you can't really say that. That's you have to look at that at a deeper level. But obviously, there's some sort of genetics involved, and there's some sort of physical activity involved. So I'll give an example. My dad's not very physically fit because he doesn't do any physical activity, but he's still pretty strong though because he's been working for a long period of time. So body's still strong. Genetically, I feel like my body's strong, but because I'm doing physical activity as well, I think it's got a lot stronger. So there's a bit of both, but you can't really put a numerical value on whether it's this much is contributing and this much is contributing.
Minhal, we usually end our episodes with big picture questions, like anything visionary, moral, ethical, would come here. In your case, you being an entrepreneur, it seems that you have an entrepreneurial spirit, and you successfully run an online medical products business. What made you take the leap from working for someone to doing it on your own?
So before we had the London Back Pain Clinic, I worked at other clinics as well. I just think that, to be fair, I've always wanted to work for myself. It's been my childhood thing. I've never really liked working for people. Now, there's nothing wrong with working for people, by the way. Maybe it's just my personality. Someone telling me do this and do that, I understand it's part of everyone's job, and it matures you as well, to be honest, because you understand what responsibilities are. But I think just when I matured up, I think I wanted to deliver those responsibilities to other people because I knew how the service should be provided. I'm not saying other practices don't provide good services, but I just feel like I knew how the service sector for this private industry should be done. So I kind of took the pros and cons from all the clinics that I worked at and tried to put all the pros in and take away all the cons. And I felt that could only be delivered if I was at the front.
At the front as a leader. What goes behind closed doors, behind the scenes when you run your own business? Do you feel like you wear many hats?
All the time. There's always problems daily. There's always, there never goes a day without a problem. I think you just have to make sure that everything is going as smooth as possible. There's always fires to put out. As long as everyone else is happy and they're not aware of the behind the scenes problems, they can provide a good service and they can work effectively. There's always changes to medical. There's always changes to the economy. There's always changes to how finance related stuff works. I think you just have to adapt yourself. I think to provide a good service in physiotherapy and in this industry is you have to be able to adapt yourself. I think most people go wrong in the health industry because this is my experience anyway. I think they have a specific personality, but they don't understand that when a patient comes in, they've got a different personality, and you have to adapt your personality to them. If you stick to your own personality and make the patient adapt to your personality, it's not a good thing because you're not providing a service. You know, there's patients you need to be more empathetic to. There's patients that you need to be more hard to. So every patient that comes in every half an hour, you have to be able to adapt your personality to them. I think that's the main thing.
As you have progressed in your career, what have you learned about the human body, both negatively and positively?
I think the mind is a very strong thing. Yeah, I think if you have a strong mind, I think you can do anything you want to do. You know, if you have a strong mind and you have an injury, you can overcome that injury. I think the negative is if you have a weak mind. If you have a weak mind and you're low in confidence, you won't be able to do a lot of things because you just won't be confident to do it, and that can have an effect on everyday tasks.
Minhal, it's through conversations like today's that I have begun to challenge the old belief that my body can't heal itself, it can't repair itself. What you do at your clinic is a partnership with the body, not against it. You have reminded us today that perseverance matters, that we need to get on with it, as you said, and focus not on the limitations, but on the possibilities ahead. Even in my more mature years, I now see that staying fit and functional isn't just wishful thinking. It's entirely within reach, with the right mindset and a tailored approach. Today, you have taught us how to work with our bodies, our age, our health conditions in a way that's both realistic and empowering. Thank you so much for your generous insights and for being here with us today.
Thank you, no problem.
Much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.